Hello, everyone. Julia Barbaro here, host of the Julia and Gino podcast. I'm here with the co-founder of Jake and Gino, my husband and co-host, Gino Barbaro.
Good morning, Julia.
Hey.
You found your contact lenses this morning.
I did. Yeah.
You need a massage?
I had one left.
Okay.
We have 2 massage therapists in the house.
You do? Yeah. So maybe when this guest comes around, maybe he's in St. Augustine, you can get and my wife's a cosmetologist too, so she can get a haircut, she can get you some contact lenses and a massage.
I'm on my way.
This is going to be a lot of fun today. Our guest is Bryan Stern. He's a decorated combat veteran and Purple Heart recipient. He founded the Great Bull Rescue Foundation after leading daring rescue missions during the U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan in 2021. With over 25 years of experience in special operations, Stern and his team have since saved more than 7,000 lives across 616 missions worldwide, including Ukraine, Sudan, and during the Maui wildfires. Wow. Welcome to the show, Bryan Stern. How you doing, brother?
Good. We're actually at 617. Since we got booked, we've actually done one more in southern Lebanon for an American family out of Las Vegas, Nevada that got stuck in Hezbollah territory. So we have to update our stats.
Before we let it rip, where can people donate to the cause? Because I know right now, if there's no margin, there's no mission. The mission needs funding. So I'd really like to share where they can learn more about you and donate to your cause.
Yeah, what I ask everyone, so greybullrescue.org is our website, Grey, greybullrescue.org is our website. That's where people can go to donate. Also, that's where people can go to ask for help. When people are in trouble, if your house is on fire, you call 911 and someone answers the phone. In what we do, there's no 911 to call. So awareness is very, very, very important. Overwhelmingly, the majority of our cases are referred to us by families who find us on social media. So if you can donate, please do. We need your help. We need them bad. You'll hear some stories. I'm sure we'll get into it. But also on our social media, we have LinkedIn and Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and all those things that I have no idea how to use. I have a friend, we have people who do that for us. But it costs no money to follow us and to share. It costs no money. It's just a click. But that sharing, this case that we just did in southern Lebanon, surrounded by Hezbollah, that family has been asking for 7 weeks to get evacuated and rescued. It was their father, I think, or their mother who got forwarded a thing from another person who saw us on Instagram. So social media saves lives and you can be part of it and it doesn't cost you a penny. So every time we post, share. It's very, 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 very important.
How did you get into this line of work? Can I, get to know you a little bit better as far as your background?
Yeah, I joined the Army as a kid many, many years ago in the 90s. I enlisted under Bill Clinton. I have no military in my family, so I'm kind of like the black sheep, right? I was supposed to be a lawyer. Didn't work, yuck, gross. Joined the Army as an infantry guy carrying a rifle. I got recruited into Army intelligence as a very young, and just had this really crazy career. I've been all over the place. I've done. I went from Army to Navy. I was enlisted in the Army and then wound up as an officer in the Navy, which is kind of weird. I've had a very, very, very atypical career. And the things that I always cared about and like to focus on from an intelligence perspective, a lot of people didn't. So not that I'm a bright shining light. I'm a C+ student. But when the whole world was focused on how to deal with the Taliban, which I never honestly cared that much about. I never looked at them as I never thought the Taliban would be parachuting into Wisconsin. I just didn't think of them that way. The things that I like to focus on were other things, and all those other things are now present day problems. So we have special operations guys who have 15 deployments to Afghanistan, and they've killed 10,000 Taliban guys, and that's great and that's awesome. And for the last 20 years, that was the thing. Awesome, that's great. But we don't have anyone that's ever. We don't have anyone on active duty today that knows how to deal with artillery, or enemy fighter planes from a ground perspective, or electronic warfare, or jamming, or spoofing. Usually, that's us. Usually we're the guys that have all the bells and whistles and all the toys and gadgets and gizmos, and we're overwhelmingly, the Taliban are, they wear flip-flops. They're no match for us. They're no big deal, right? Tactically speaking, certainly strategically speaking. Well, the Russians and the Chinese and the Iranians are a much different animal, and those are the kinds of things that throughout my career, I really like to focus on a very street level, from a very street level perspective. And I was a 9/11 first responder. I was in both collapses, um, which kind of interesting. I was a kid in the Army in New York and worked downtown and got involved in that. So and then I've been deployed pretty much ever since, you know, September, late September, early October 2001. I've been on the road pretty much. So, but again, career wise, the easiest place I've ever worked is Afghanistan, is the easiest place, which sounds very counterintuitive because it's a war zone and it's crazy. Well, the reality is if you're on a SEAL team, let's say, and you hit a house in Kandahar, Afghanistan, and it doesn't go too well, which happens, when you push a button, more SEALs show up. And if that doesn't work, Rangers show up. And if that doesn't work, F-16 show up. And if you get shot, a medevac helicopter comes and medevacs you to the combat support hospital where they put you back together and all those great things. Well, it doesn't work the same in, Guatemala, right? We're not sending F-16s into Guatemala to go assist and it just doesn't work that way. So for me, I was always a troublemaker. My whole career, I was a troublemaker. My whole career, my bosses, God bless them. Every boss I've ever had has earned their pay for sure. Every single one. I always like to be in places where I was far away from the flagpole because I don't really do well in an office. I'm not that guy. My last deployment in Afghanistan, my last long tour in Afghanistan, at ISAF, the headquarters, there were more admirals and generals on that tiny compound in Afghanistan than we had in the height of World War II, than we had in the entire military at the height of World War II. So, you see General Petraeus out for a jog, and I'm like allergic. I stay away. I get in trouble. I get in trouble easily. I've always been that, been in trouble. So, working in other places that people don't necessarily care about so much keeps me on the street where I like to be, in the field where I like to be, away from all the bosses, which I really like to be, looking at targets and problems that are harder because there's no help. And that's always where I've gravitated towards.
I can just tell everybody, I don't think the Taliban needs to parachute into Wisconsin or Michigan or wherever. They can just walk across the southern border. I think that'd be a lot easier. But I mean, let's let that be as it may. Let's talk about your first rescue mission. How did you get into that? I mean, it's something where I'm sitting here, I've got first world problems, and there's people out there that have some serious problems. And how did you come up with these rescue operations, and what did your first one look like?
Yeah, it's kind of a funny story, or not so funny story, I should say. So I'm an Afghan vet, and I'm an intelligence officer by trade. So I'm not a SEAL, I'm not a Green Beret, and I never wanted to be. I'm a very proud intel guy, field intel guy. So when we recruit sources, part of our pitch is if you get caught, if you spy for me and provide me intelligence to feed operations or do whatever, and you work for me and things go sideways, I promise we'll take care of you. So it'll be okay. Yeah. And we look, we do these, a lot of these relationships, the rapport that we establish might be manufactured, right? Oh, you like baseball? I like baseball too. But nevertheless, I'm still having tea with a human being and trying to get him to do what I need him to do. But he's still a human. He's still a person with a wife and kids and all the other things. So August 2021, we are weeks away from the 20th anniversary of 9/11. I'm in my living room in Tampa, Florida, and I am done with this chapter of my life. I actually had this thing called a job, and that job did things like pay my bills, and the days of going to sandy places and eating bad food and being sick to my stomach, that chapter of my life was behind me. right? We talk about veteran issues, and a lot of guys don't land very well, and PTSD, and veterans can't get jobs and stuff. I didn't have that problem. I landed very nicely, very good. I was blessed. I'm working on my key. I was asked to give a keynote speech at the for 9/11 for the 20th anniversary in New York, and I try and go every year. There were not many military first responders. I'm one of the few, proudly, and we're all still friends. So I'm working on my speech for the 20th anniversary of 9/11. It's the withdrawal of Afghanistan. Clearly not going well. Why that's not going well, we can get into, but it's not a political issue. Bottom line is it's not going well. And my phones are erupting with friends of mine from Afghanistan who I know for many, many, many years saying, brother, 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 help me, help me, help me. You promised. You promised me.
Then
And this is heavy stuff. It's heavy stuff. But I was torn. I was like, I'll write a check. I'm done with this. I'll be, surely the Red Cross will do things or whatever. I'm working on my speech. And this is, now mind you, this is very emotional for me. I think about 9/11 every single day. I'm a 2-time survivor. I'm should have been dead 20-something years ago already, 23 years ago now. So I take it very seriously, and I'm an Afghan vet, and I've buried a lot of friends in Afghanistan, a lot of friends. I've spent a lot of time there. I qualified for citizenship. I've been there so many times. So I have 2 very emotional events going on at the same time. I'm watching this go, and I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassed as a veteran, as an American, as an intelligence officer, as all these things. I'm watching this. It's not a political thing, but it just looks bad, right? It doesn't look. We're better than this, is what I was thinking, and I'm very, 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 very upset. I'm working, and I'm trying to write my speech, which, that's a whole thing about 9/11. And I'm going back 20 years. I'm having a very emotional moment. This is a very emotional kind of experience. And breaking news on TV, and it's the imagery of the C-17, the big plane that we all know, with all the Afghans swarming it and everything else. And the plane takes off, and it shows imagery of 2 Afghans falling from the plane. At that moment, I was talking about it. Just weird. I mean, this is like divine intervention stuff. I was working on my speech. The part of it that I was talking about was the desperation that people must have felt in the towers as they jumped. And I said to myself, and I'm like very emotional, very upset. I'm a very, emotional guy, right? I'm not like, a lot of guys like steely-eyed killer types. I'm not. Yep. I cry at Moana, right? I'm not that guy. I'm an animal lover, right? I think to myself, what planet am I on? The Taliban are back in charge. How did that happen after 20 years of war? Weeks away from the 20th anniversary of 9/11 that I'm writing about, and I'm watching people jump to their deaths as a better play of staying where they are, and I'm writing about that concept in my speech, and I'm watching it on TV again, and I had never seen it since then. I've never, I felt it on the morning, I smelled it on the morning of 9/11, and I'm watching it on TV. And I said, enough. I can't watch it on TV. I'm not going to be a spectator. I know how to do these operations. Lots of people don't know how to do these kinds of operations. You could be 200 Bronze Stars, Green Beret, Ninja that can, sail in on a nuclear surfboard, but you don't learn how to charter airplanes in Afghanistan and do cross-border ops at Green Beret School, at the Q course, or at Buds for SEALs or whatever. You just, but I do this all the time. I've done this. I've chartered hundreds of planes. I've done all kinds of weird things in my career because I like to work in places where there's no help. So, and I have a very big network. I know people all over the world, good contacts, some shady contacts, some really good contacts, 31 flavors. So I said, I'm not going to watch it on TV. So I called some friends of mine and I said, let's get the band back together, right? One last blast, right?
Where have you heard that?
Right? We're old. We may be old, we may be fat, but like we know what we're doing. We know how to do this. And it was kind of like that movie Space Cowboys is kind of how I thought about it, right? Where all the old guys go into space. It was very much like, let's go back to Afghanistan. And everyone was kind of like, you're out of your mind. And I said, no, I got a plan. This is what we're going to do. And that's what we did. There were lots of veteran groups that were spinning up, some good ones, some not so good ones, lots of thrust, but no vector, lots of people wanting to help, but they don't really know how. And I told my crew, I said, look, bottom line, this is August, right? I'm giving a speech on 9/11. So this whole thing is going to be like a dude's trip. We'll go, we'll help out, but I got to get back. For all the tea in China and all the money in the world, if you told me then that 3 years later I'd still be talking about this, I would have laughed. If you would have said, oh yeah, and by the way, you're going to go into Haiti and Ukraine and Sudan and Israel and Lebanon and Maui and Ian and all these other places, and I would have said, you're out of your mind. You've lost the plot, right? Now, the two big things when we did our first mission. So we did a whole bunch of ground missions first that nobody really talks about. At the time, Kaya was open, Kabul Airport was open, and the game was get people from outside the perimeter to a Marine at the gate and get them through onto an Air Force plane. Very hard. Lots of groups did this. We did this too. Lots of groups. We had a very real discussion. I as the boss. This is my former outfit. We had another nonprofit. Everyone has since left and come to Grable, which we recently launched. One of the discussions was, who are we rescuing? Because the whole country, the whole country of Afghanistan does not want to be there, right? And we had a discussion about Americans, okay? And I had pushed back. And I said, let's stick to sources that we know, commandos that we know, judges or whoever, but people who we know. We don't have any money, so let's focus on people who we have a relationship with. And then we had a discussion about Americans. And I said, as the boss, that's not for us. We're a new organization. We're fledgling. We're figuring it out as we go. I've never run a nonprofit before. No one that is to my left and right, none of us know how to, we know how to do the ops, but like, I don't want American citizen passports and their addresses, all their personal information, all the cybersecurity stuff. I was like, that's not for us. We have the CIA, we have SOCOM, Green Berets, Navy SEALs, units that have no names, all kinds of cool guys, all kinds of helicopters and all kinds of stuff. Americans are for them. 25 years in the intelligence business, I have never been that wrong in an assessment. In my career, never since then either. General Austin, who's Secretary of Defense. So now we're forward and we're doing stuff. We're working from Uzbekistan and Tajikistan, trying to break open the northern border at the northern corridor, which is how we invaded Afghanistan. We're also doing stuff from Kabul to the Marines and to the Air Force before the military left. This is literally 3 years ago as we speak. So we're doing that. Secretary of Defense General Austin and Secretary of State Tony Blinken, right? They get on TV and they say August 30th will be the last day for U.S. forces in Afghanistan. At that moment, as soon as they announced that, I did a hold. I ordered a hold on everything we were doing. And the point is that it is no big deal. It's hard, but it's not exactly scientific to take an Afghan and his family, who who's vetted and all the good things, and get them to Lance Corporal Snuffy, United States Marine Corps, and get that coordination set up. And then from there, get them onto a plane, get them through and onto a plane. That's a challenge, but it's not exactly hard. When the Marine Corps leaves and Special Forces leave and the Air Force is gone and the Taliban is running the Department of Motor Vehicles effective 1 September, that's when this party first starts. At that moment, we did all kinds of things. And that's where my fangs really came out and my team and our claws really, 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 really came out. What happens is, subsequent, A couple of people had landed airplanes in Kabul, and they were all seized by the Taliban. Because no kidding, the Taliban doesn't mind having a $40 million asset to sit there. No kidding. It's like jail. It's easy to break into jail. It's really hard to break out of jail. It's just like that, right? What we did, our first major earth-shattering thing, what made history, was we got the first landing clearance and takeoff clearance from the Taliban, and we, in broad daylight, landed an Airbus A320. 135 seats, and rescued 117 American citizens, 59 kids, from Taliban control. This is 3 weeks almost after the military is gone. So there is no more Estados Unidos whatsoever. The American flag is not welcome here. The Taliban are living in the U.S. Embassy. The special forces are gone. Everyone's gone. General Donahue, who's a great guy, he was the last American soldier in Afghanistan. He's the last boots on ground, a true national treasure, a good guy. He gets a bad rap. He's a great guy. But that's where we really made history. So we call that our first mission, but really we had done like 100 or so ground things, some cross-border things, but the one that was impossible. And what we did it was very simple. I'm not too smart. None of the tactics that I used did I ever invent, but just most people don't know how. What we did is we figured out, well, there's a bunch of airports in Afghanistan, and the Taliban are in control, and Afghanistan is a crappy country that's always going to need help, and there'll need to be a minister of civil aviation or something. And we figured out who the top 5 or 6 candidates were, and we went and made friends with every single one of them. And we knew one of them would get picked, and we were right. And we were able to get landing clearance and takeoff clearance from the Taliban. Since then, 660 missions.
Let me ask you a question. As you're getting the band together, what does your wife say? I mean, is she like, okay, Bryan, I'm sorry. I'm sitting here going, okay.
I'm sitting here nervous for you. I can't imagine what your family's going through.
Well, this is the funny thing about being a nonprofit. We are a family business. We have husbands and wives that work together every single day. One of the things that I love about my team, we're about 80 people strong now, with everybody. We represent, and I mean this truly with every ounce of patriotism that I have, we represent what America used to be and actually still is. We're the proof. And what I mean by that is on my team, I've got Muslims, Christians, and Jews. I've got husbands and wives that work together, which is always a lot of fun. I've got Republicans and Democrats. I have far left, far right. I have people with like Donald Trump tattoos that work with Hillary Clinton for president bumper stickers still in their car, right? Side by side every single day, with their kids involved, with their families involved, with their girlfriends, their boyfriends, their whatever they got, where we truly represent what, I say it all the time. If Paul Revere were alive today, he would have a Gray Bull logo on his horse. He wasn't a Republican or a Democrat. He was just an American doing what Americans always do, which is show up and do what's right. My team, it's hysterical. We have group threads and stuff, and we have one that's for like off the record stuff, so we can bicker and do funny memes and all that stuff. And it's so funny how heated it gets, especially amongst husbands and wives, and especially amongst Democrats and Republicans on my team, and they kill each other over, right? But then when it's like, oh, holy cow, there's an American trapped in Hunaya, Lebanon. Okay, let's go. Let's do this. So what do our wives say? It's complicated because they're involved. When you do this for the government, your wives and husbands and kids and stuff aren't allowed to know. Everything's all classified. So they don't know. You come home from work. How was your day, honey? Oh, it was great. What'd you work on? Same stuff as always. Oh yeah. With the, how's any, whatever. You can't do email from home because you have to be on the classified network. So you can't even work late if you want to, right?
Yeah.
We're 24/7, 20-hour a day. It's 10:30 right now where I am. I've been up since 4 a.m. talking to Lebanon all day and Israel all day. And I'll go until probably midnight tonight because it's hard. The wives and the kids and the families, they support us, but it's very difficult. I got blown in April 2022. I got blown up. April or March, maybe March 22. I got blown up. Not terrible, not terrible, but rung my bell really good. I couldn't hear and I couldn't see too well. So I mean, it was danger close, and I was alone. Doing this operation, Robert Platt. If you Google Bryan Stern, Robert Platt, we got a bunch of media coverage on. He was an American paratrooper who was stuck, trapped, surrounded by Russian tanks and stuff in Ukraine, and we made an attempt to get him, and the first attempt failed, and I got lit up like Broadway. I'm in my car that I don't even know if it's running, and I go into I push the call button and I call my whole team because I didn't know who was awake and who wasn't. I'm in Ukraine on the Russian border. I called the whole team and all I could do was just talk. I couldn't hear anything. So hey, it's me. I'm navigating towards our rally point to this guy. I got hit. I think the car's messed up. I can't see too good, but I'm okay. I'm following Google Dot. I can't hear anything. And I just kept repeating it. Well, my wife was on that call.
What? Holy smokes.
And she was the case manager for that operation. So she had spoken to this guy and his wife who are stuck, promising them that Bryan is coming with his team. It'll be okay, blah, blah, blah. And we ultimately got him later, about a week later, a couple of days later, not even a week later. But, I'm hurt, I'm wounded. A bunch of the fillings of my teeth came out. My teeth were, my cheekbone got fractured, and I'm hurt. And all the kids are, there were 20 something people on that call. I was like, doing like one of these. And it's scary stuff. Very, very, this is as real as it gets. There's a lot of nonprofits out there, just like ours, that coordinate a lot of things, right? They coordinate, they facilitate. There's a veteran-led nonprofit. I won't use their name. I don't like to bash anybody in life, but they claim to have done 50,000 rescues from Ukraine. Okay, and what they did is they said, yeah, if you're in trouble, get to Lviv, and then we'll get you to Poland. Well, the reality is from Lviv, when I need to get to Poland, I take an Uber. It's safe there. Yeah. That's 30 hours away from anything that resembles violence. Okay, we're on the front lines. We're very operational. We are not a coordinating element. We are an operational element. So we're on the streets. We've been shot at a lot. We've been artillery. We've had every bows and arrows and all kinds of
curious when you're in that moment, especially when you're driving the car, because I have to get inside your head a little bit, because this is like incredible to me. Like you called yourself a troublemaker early on. You didn't want to be. You were not meant to work in an office, obviously, with the boss telling you what to do. Okay, so you can troublemaker. All you troublemakers listening, you have an incredible mission in life. Obviously, think about Bryan. When everyone tells you you're a troublemaker and you're getting fired from working at the office. But Bryan, I'm curious when you're in those moments of, you're in the car, driving the car, got blown up, and you're still going. Like, what gives you that motivation in that moment? I want to understand where that comes from.
I get this question all the time, and I never know how to answer it. It's a few things. One, I've been a servant of the people and the nation for as long as I can remember. My little tiny brain doesn't go back far enough to remember where I wasn't serving. And that sounds very corny and very cheesy, but when you drink the Kool-Aid, you drink the Kool-Aid. I'm a Kool-Aid drinker, right? When you join the Army, you take an oath, right? You take an oath. That oath is to the people, and it doesn't have an expiration date. It doesn't. Your oath, right? It's like the national anthem. The national anthem is actually filled with questions. And that was the point. When George C. Scott wrote the national anthem, he wanted it to be so that when you sang it, it makes you answer, you want to validate your patriotism, right? And, oh, say, can you see is a question, right? It's a question. Well, and it sounds very corny and very cheesy, but when you spend your entire adult life trying to answer that question and trying to live that oath, that some people don't take too seriously, and that's okay, and some people take it very seriously, and that's okay too. For me, something to hang my hat on. Something to hang my hat on, right?
What about your faith in God? Where does that play a role? And I don't know if you're a religious person. I don't know where you are in that field, but tell me about that.
So I'm not a religious man. I'm not, right? For a lot of reasons. But I'm spiritual though. I believe in a higher power. I believe, I know this. I know this. This lunatic imam, which is like a Muslim priest, and he's actually a part of the bad guys, and I'm trying to get him to understand truth, right? I'm trying to convince him to do some things, and he says, my kunya, my nickname in Afghanistan is Shaheen, which is like a bird, like an eagle, an eagle, a meat eating bird, right? Shaheen, which fits. And he says, there are two things I know to be true. There is a God, and I'm not him. It's kind of where I land. There's, I believe in a higher power for a lot of reasons, but the reality is almost everyone who has tried to kill me in my life also thought God was on their side too.
Right.
So, you talk to Hassan Nasrallah, the leader of Hezbollah, and he is completely convinced that God is on his side. You talk to, Ivan Ivanovich, the sniper in the Russian army who's picking people off one at a time, and you ask him, well, are you a religious man? Oh, yeah, absolutely. God is on my side. So, it's a tough thing when you spend a lot of time with people who are suffering. Where I have shaken my fist at God saying, why did you do this? Forget me. I'm okay. But why did you, I've debriefed over 500 victims of rape. The youngest one was 3.5. The oldest one was 98. And neither of them were girls.
Yeah.
And shaking my fist. How could you do this to these people? How could you? What, so am I spiritual? Absolutely. Do I believe in God? Absolutely. When I got blown up doing Robert Platt, I absolutely prayed just in case. There's no such thing as a non-believer in a foxhole. It doesn't exist. But my relationship with God is my relationship. We have a very awkward relationship, but we have a good one too. But my faith is very much woven into, it sounds so stupid, but if you have an American passport, we come. Not because, and it sounds very cliche to say, not because God tells me to, because we should.
Yeah.
We should. Because that's what happens. When you call 911, I use this analogy all the time. When you call 911, your house is on fire, and you're in St. Augustine, and you call 911, they say 911, how may I help you? How may we help you? And you say, oh, you won't believe it, my house is on fire. They don't say, who'd you vote for? Did you vote for the mayor? Right? Who's our boss as the fire department, right? They don't say, are you a Republican or a Democrat? They don't even ask you if you paid your taxes that pays the fire department. They say, what's your address? And we're on our way. That's what they say. That's part of being an American. Lots of countries don't have that. Lots of places don't have that. Where we people talk about entitlement with a bad tone. Well, I don't. I'm an American. I'm entitled. That's part of being an American. We're good. We're on the right side. We have the moral high ground, or at least we try to be. Are we perfect? No. Are we better than you? Yeah. There's a reason why people are immigrating from Guatemala to America, legally or illegally. The reason why is because Guatemala is a dump. We are not. We are. Notice there's no southern migration. It's not like a two-way highway. It's a one-way highway, right? It's a one-way highway. Why is that? It's because we are a good country. Do we have our problems? Yeah. Is our politics and all that stuff? Yeah. Got it. Okay, fine. But the reality is, the American flag is the most recognized symbol on planet Earth. I've been in mud huts in nowhere, Africa, where they don't know about plumbing, and they do know the American flag. They do know the American flag. You go to anywhere in the world, right? Like who's the president of Lebanon right now? Who knows? Who cares? In Lebanon, who's the president of the United States right now? Oh, President Joseph Biden. And let me tell you about Donald Trump, and let me tell you about Kamala Harris. I mean, there's a reason why we are on a pedestal. There's a reason why. And that causes problems for us, because with that comes responsibility. There's a moral obligation, an ethical obligation that comes with that. That's part of, it's like being a gun owner. You have to be a responsible gun owner, right? Or it's like being a dog owner. You have a big, giant 300-pound Rottweiler. That doesn't mean you can let it just do its thing. You have to be a responsible dog owner. With power comes responsibility.
Yeah.
I would argue that we're kind of screwing that up a little bit recently, but part of Grable is to honor that. Where half the places I go, I'm the first American that they've ever met.
That's
like
awesome.
They've watched us on TV as a three-headed unicorn. Right? Like, wow, we've heard about Americans, but like you act like I've had people ask to touch my passport. Like royalty, right? 66%, 2/3 of Americans don't have passports. What does that mean? That means that 2/3 of our people cannot understand the world outside of their iPhones if they wanted to. And that's okay. America's a great country. I tell everyone, don't leave until you've been to all 50 states and you've seen the Grand Canyon and Yosemite and the Redwoods, and you've walked Hollywood Square and you swam in both oceans and learn how to surf. Yeah. Stay in America. Safer, better, fine. We're a great country. Well, it's wonderful.
Bryan, I'm curious. There's people listening and they're thinking probably like you get all the time. We want to help. We don't want to jump out of the plane with you, but we want to help. We don't know how. Or there's people out there in your situation that were in the military and they don't know what to do because they don't want to work in an office. Yeah. So what do they do?
We take volunteers all the time. It is a weird, unique skill set. And I'm very selective. Part of why we're good is because we've done 617 operations. I've personally led 591 of them. I'm labor and management, as they say. It's why we have generals and admirals and stuff.
You don't want to be in the office, so you're going to be out in the field.
I try. I really do. I really try, but I'm terrible. I really want to be.
Stick with what you're good at. Stick with what you're.
So where can they get a hold of you? I mean, what's any website? Any? You can leave a phone number. You can leave a phone number as well if you'd like.
Yeah, GrableRescue.org is where you can volunteer. We need help in everything. I don't care what you do. I got work for you. Is it always the fun stuff? No. But the reality is the helicopters don't fly themselves. We need fundraising, and more fundraising. I cannot break people out of jail from Russia, which I've done on a number of occasions. We're the only organization in the history of the United States to break people out of jail from Russia. I don't have $6 billion to give. I can't lift a sanction, and I don't have any Russian prisoners. So we got to do it the old-fashioned way. Okay. I can't do that because I'm a nice guy. I'm not good looking enough. I'm not smart enough, and I'm not nice enough. So I don't have I don't have the financial resources or the physical resources to be able to do it. So we need money. These things, gas costs money. Our travel costs money. Things cost money. Public relations and the shirt with the logo on it costs money. So if you're listening and you own a t-shirt company and you want to help us out, but business is tough because the economy's whatever it is, and you can't afford to write a check. No problem. Help us with t-shirts and host an event, and I'll show up, or my team will show up, and we'll talk and do things. There's 100 ways people can help. GrableRescue.org, or and again, following us on Facebook and Instagram and all the social media stuff, and share. If you have if there's 100 people listening right now, and every one of them gave $1, okay, and they all know 100 people, and they shared it, and those 100 people also gave $1, that pays for a helicopter for me to rescue people out of Haiti, which I'm trying to source this week. Done. It's doesn't have to be millions. We're actually pretty cheap. My entire operating budget is like a rounding error for lug nut grease in at Fort Bragg. Like we're very cost effective.
Bryan, I really want to thank you for sharing the story today. And for anybody out there, just go to the website. I mean, I think this is God's work, to be honest with you, because this is not something when you come back from, a war zone, you're sitting home in Tampa, you're drinking a beer in the backyard, the barbecue kicking, and you're like, you know what? I like this life. And then all of a sudden somebody calls up and says, we need to do something. And it's like, we're going to do one operation. And then 616 operations later, he's still kicking. So I just want to really thank you, not only for your service, but for your continued effort to helping the people who are out there that don't have a voice. For those that are out there, so listen, I want to say continued success. And it's been an honor and privilege to have you on the show.
Oh, thank you so much. And my team is, thank you for all that. And we love what we do. We have guys, I have veterans that work with us who were suicidal. And by serving with us, gives them another, a lot of guys a lot of veterans committing suicide is because they lose their way and they don't have a sense of purpose anymore, which is an important part about service life. Well, we're operational. So, I run Grable like a special forces task force. That's how we run it. So we have, being able to continue to serve a country that you love, a people that you love, notwithstanding all of our silly problems, and most of them are pretty silly, right? Most of them are pretty silly, to be honest. Whichever side of the aisle you're on, I don't care. Being able to continue to serve this great country and our great people is the greatest privilege. Being able to lead my men and my men and women who put themselves in harm's way is the greatest honor that I've ever had in my life. I don't care about the media stuff. I really don't. Honestly, if we had the funding, I would never do media. but being able to continue our service to the nation and we're good at what we do. And the demand signal has never been higher. There are more Americans in captivity today than the last 45 years. That's insane. We have active conflict in every continent other than Australia and Antarctica. It's insane.
Wow. Unbelievable.
And they need our help, and they need your help. Help. If you're listening, they need your help. You can help us. We're very real. We're very cool. If we don't do a good job, I'll give you your money back. No problem. But I promise we're good.
And I also request or just anyone listening, if you know someone that, especially like the veteran, like you said, Bryan, I think that's incredible because we all know those veterans. Send this podcast to them, send the email to them, send something to them because this could save their life ultimately. So Bryan, seriously, unbelievable. I just want to thank you for your bravery and your continued success, and just know that the Barbaro family will be praying for you and your safety and all of your missions going forward.
Thanks, Bryan. Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for having us. Really appreciate you.